child 5.5 months later.
Oh, really?
To our surprise, yes.
Okay, and how old were the first two?
So the first two were about, the youngest of them was about 12 months old when the baby sister, biological sister to our youngest at that point, was born, and we wanted to keep the siblings together.
Oh, okay. So you had one about a year old, and then you got the baby sister when the baby sister was born.
Right. So here we had 3 children, 18 months and younger, in our house.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
It was intense.
All right. So we've established you're insane.
Yes. That's correct.
That's true.
And if you weren't before, you were then, right?
That's right.
Because that's really busy.
It was busy.
All right. So you've now got 7. Some of them older, some of them younger.
Yes, sir.
And then you decide to bring Sarah into your home, and you meet her in a field coming out of a tent. And you were doing what in the field? What were you doing in the field?
So part of our faith is to love your neighbor. And when this field in front of our property ended up with a homeless community literally putting tents into the field, I felt like it would be a wonderful thing to always go with another person for safety purposes, but to go and minister to them by bringing them food and beverages and inviting them to join our church. So I spent a period of time over the course of about a month delivering them food and drinks, at which point I had invited them to join us for church. And that's when Sarah presented herself. I actually said, hey, do you guys want to come to church with me this Sunday? I'd never seen a female there before, and she came out of the tent saying she was journaling to the Lord, and she believed that God was literally inviting her to join us and come to church.
Okay. And she told you that she had lost her 3 children to the Department of Children's Services, right?
That's correct, yes. Her children had been removed a 1.5 years prior.
Did you inquire as to why?
Absolutely. I spent the course of almost 4 months getting to know Sarah and understanding her before we ever opened her the door of our home.
And what did you learn in those 4 months? Did you see any red flags or anything that concerns you? Any mental health issues? Any background issues that caused you to say, I have 7 children in here, some or all of which are vulnerable. Is this the kind of person I want to expose my children to?
In the beginning, I noticed that there was some real instability. She voluntarily checked herself into a mental health hospital and got medications that helped balance and stabilize her.
Did you go along with this?
I did. You know, I got to know Sarah, through Brooke. She spent most of the time getting to know her. And my observation of Sarah was that she was a nice girl. I felt like she needed help. I mean, I knew that she had some issues. I mean, she was living on the street. But I didn't feel like any of the issues that she had was anything that could be a danger to our family.
I looked to see if there were things that would just jump out at me objectively as red flags if I was looking at it. And one, she's a stranger. I mean, you knew her for 4.5 months, but I mean, she's a stranger. Early on, she interfered with your parenting.
She certainly questioned my parenting.
And this started early on.
It did. Yes, sir.
She had a hysterical episode
within the first week.
Within the first week, and that's what you referred to as kind of a meltdown, right?
Absolutely, yes.
And you talked about needing to have some boundaries.
Absolutely.
And she didn't say, okay, she came back at you with, well, I need some boundaries.
Yes, she certainly did.
Right? And she did show symptoms of mental illness, and you knew she had an addiction history.
That's correct.
You knew she had an abusive past.
Yes, she was abused. A lot of domestic violence.
Yeah, and you knew that she had behaved in such a way, and somehow in her history, that her children had been taken away, and I think, in fact, that her parental rights had been terminated.
That's correct. Yes, sir.
Which is a pretty big step.
Yes, sir.
Not just to lose custody of your children and have visitation, even supervised visitation, but to have parental rights terminated. Where you have no access to your children whatsoever.
Yes.
So you knew these things about her fairly early in the game.
Yeah, I think...
Any of that say, this might not be the best house guest?
Yes.
Sure, but I'll tell you where we were at. Meeting Sarah and getting to know her, we knew that she had a history of addiction. We knew that she had a history of these things.